Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of X Marks for Law. I'm your captain as normal, Dom, the X Protocols, and welcome as we're doing something completely different today. Because today, we're doing This Is Your Deck. Brand new thing I want to try getting on, where I invite a fellow Lorcana creator on board and we start talking about the game of Lorcana using a deck that they have built as the icebreaker to get to know him a bit deeper. Because what's the best way to get to know a Lorcana player? The kind of deck they build and play. That's what I'm thinking of. And today, I'm joined by fellow creator, fellow buddy bud, big on the theme park scene, and very happy to have him on board for episode 1. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Lorcana.
Hey guys.
Insert audience clap. This is your deck, first guest on the show, and you have brought us a belter of a deck, if I might say. Amber Ruby Beauty that I see over here. Classic build as well, from Mufasa. So, to get into things first, tell me a little about yourself and this deck.
Okay, so I started my TCG journey like most people. Like I started with like collecting Pokemon, and then when Yu-Gi-Oh hit the scene, I traded I don't know if it was a Shadowless, but it ended up being like a base set Charizard for like what ended up being basically a Kaiba starter deck, which I'm still kicking myself about. 30 years later, or
the
20 years later, yeah. So I was like always a Yu-Gi-Oh kid growing up, and I got like out of it like in my early teen years because it was just really expensive and my family didn't have a lot of money. But I ended up getting back into it in like my early 20s, late teens. And then I got my wife into it at one point. And then we got out of it during COVID because obviously there was like no physical TCG scene. And then we found out about Lorcana. I actually, like, I joke with people in general that, like, I brought Lorcana into fruition because there was a card game at the parks at Disney World. I think might have been in Disneyland, but I'm not sure. Called Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, and the last day you could get the packs. My wife and I went, and they were like, "Yeah, we're like, this is the last day. We're getting rid of these." And I just remember my wife like cussing up a storm down Main Street. And I was like, well, maybe we're going to get a TCG like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic. And D23 that year, they had announced Lorcana. So it is a running joke within like my friend circle that I willed it into existence.
I was the one. Look at me. I give
much.
you Lorcana.
Yep. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Ryan Miller and... I can't remember who else created. Who's? I know Ryan Miller's like the main guy. Who was the other guy?
Oh no!
I feel so terrible.
Oh god! I didn't realize this was supposed to be an interview and quiz.
No, you're good. No, it's just. So yeah, they actually stole the idea from me. It's a thing.
Yeah.
But no,
in the comments, just make sure. Make sure you give Carp his props. He brought us Lorcana.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so huge.
But when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, there was a deck that came out around 2014, 2015. That was like my favorite deck of all time, and it was one of the only decks in Yu-Gi-Oh that had like a quote unquote like mana system. And everybody told me, they were like, they're like you like this is an incredibly like bad deck. I'm like, yeah, it's only because the rest of the game you can just play stuff for free, and I have to actually pay things. So I kind of felt that way with like Fasa, and I was like, oh, this deck's incredibly fair in a format where like red purple was a thing, like Steel Song was ripping your hand, putting a lot of stuff on board. And I actually jumped to red Fasa because I love Mufasa. Like I love the card as a character just because like the whole flip aspect of it. And I like did terribly. I didn't do terribly, but I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't very good with red purple. And after a certain point, I put the deck down and I was like, I'm going to play something else. And I fell in love with red Fasa, and Humble over at Team Maelstrom definitely, he helped kind of guide me in that direction. one of my friends from locals was really he piloted the deck too. I think second at our first set champs.
Oh, nice.
Over here in my area. Yeah. He beat me in top 8, and that was a day. We could only do it on the Wednesday before it ended. 64 people showed up, and I got home at like 4 a.m. and I had to be to work the next morning. Yeah, it was a nightmare and a half.
Wow.
But yeah, but it was really fun, and like he beat me with the deck, and I was just so confused, and I was like, this deck's very good. But I just don't think a lot of people got the reps into it that to make it like a big meta deck. But yeah, so I piloted it to my most successful raid out of set champs. I got second at that set champs with the red list.
Very nice.
And it was very fun. One of my friends I played him in round 4, and then we played in the semis, and I just remember I had like the Judy hops that readies at the end of your turn, and I had the evasive Goofy, and every turn I was just questing for 4 lore with the Mufasa and the Goofy, because he was afraid to crack my Mufasa and hit something big, and then he couldn't touch the evasive Goofy because of the Judy hops. So he just didn't find, he didn't see his B prep, and we kind of like both recognized that was probably why I won. Yeah, and I love Red Fossa. I actually really miss the deck now that it's out of rotation. But I hope Ravensburger knows what they're doing, and we'll get it back eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things, isn't it? Like it reminds me of when, like, Ruby Fossa for you is kind of like the legacy that I have with Brooms, where just Brooms were my boys since the very early onset of Lorcana, and then it was, I think it was either just before rotation or the set before that, where I finally got Brooms in the top 8 at a set championship, which was my crowning achievement with it. And having like some of the craziest games I ever had as well, because that was when the meta was incredibly biased towards like Amber Steel, and especially Ruby Amethyst at the time was just crazy. Because I believe it was just after the Flaversham ban, so Ruby Amethyst was taking more of a priority over Ruby Sapphire, and I just remember having this crazy 3-round game against a Ruby Amethyst player where I just knuckled out a win with Brooms by having a crazy combination with what was it? It was Bruno Madrigal, exerting him to check the top of my deck, calling out for a magic broom, bringing him out, getting the law, and then we know the way to get another broom up there and getting more brooms out. Friggin' swamping the board, people going crazy. It was like, brooms made it! Yeah, it's one of those things, and I guess that leads us to another great question to go straight into things. How do you feel with rotation? Because a lot of people, I think, are still recovering from the first rotation of Lorcana. I've got my own opinions, but we'll get into that later, I'm sure. But what do you feel? Do you think rotation has been kind of rocky, or has it been quite good for you? What's your thoughts?
I think so. Coming from Yu-Gi-Oh primarily, because I did play some other TCGs that have rotation. I've dabbled in Magic, Pokemon. It's still kind of a shell shock to me that rotation is the primary way to balance the game, whereas in Yu-Gi-Oh it was always power creep and ban lists. And I still don't love, like, I understand Ravensburger has like already put it on the table, so this is what we're doing, so I kind of just like stomach it. But I think I would be a little bit more happy with rotation if they put like if they did like more, I guess they wouldn't be emergency ban lists anymore, but like if they kind of gave us a ban list midway through rotation cycle, because that's one thing that I think everybody really misses about pre-rotation is that I think it was like right after DLC, or right after like Nationals or Continentals or whatever you want to call it, and before Worlds, where it seemed like any deck could like, or after the Hiram ban specifically, because Blue Steel was like running amok. But it was like right after the Hiram ban where it seemed like any deck could top any event. And now, since rotation, it's always felt like it's like the big three and then like maybe one or two others. But I think for like if Ravensburger, like Brian Miller would ask me like how I would fix rotation, I would probably just the way I would like try to fix it the best is, it's okay to experiment with color identities for other colors, but you got to give things more consistency pieces at the end of the day. Like I think that's one of the things that kind of like peeved me about it, because like as much as I hated it at the time, green had Diablo, steel had like a whole new world, Ember had Rapunzel. Like it seemed like everything had a key draw card or key draw engine, and now it just seems like it's purple or green, and that's about it. And I know there's probably like one or two other things that I'm missing, but it's just so sorry, long-winded way to say it. I don't love it, but because I love the game, I accept it. And there's really nobody in my local area that does Infinity, so I kind of have to just suck it up and play Core Constructed.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I think like with our local specifically, the first rotation kind of like it didn't hit us too badly. A lot of us stayed on, but it hit a couple of guys, and we've been very worried since, and it's been a bit rocky, especially with like the onset of other really big TCGs. Like Yu-Gi-Oh's made quite a big comeback, and then Riftbound making the huge impact that it has, which is brilliant to see in the TCG market. But I think the biggest problem I had with rotation was that Fabled, at least for me, was eyeing up to be this, like, okay, first set of a new rotation, you've just got to give us stuff that's good. Like, just give us decent stuff that makes, like what you said earlier, gives us a potential meta where it's quite flexible. Where, sure, there'll probably be, like, a statistically best deck in there, but that doesn't mean that the best deck's going to top all the time, and it could have, like, quite a wide range. Sadly, we have to give Ravensburger the props. They are learning from their mistakes. Does look like they are not going to do this for Attack of the Vine, which is great. But Fabled being the majority reprint set, at least in my eyes, has done more damage to the game than it actually helped. And I understand that maybe the Ravensburger guys were scared, saying, oh, but they're losing too much stuff. But I say, screw it. If rotation is supposed to mix things up dramatically and make you change your mindset when it comes to deck building, deck philosophies, what's going to work, what's not going to work, go ham, blow it the hell up, and make people just go like, okay, what have we got? What is Fabled bringing in there? And, I mean, we've got a better opportunity doing it now with Wilds Unknown bringing in Toy Story, Attack of the Vine bringing in like Monsters Incorporated, and we're gonna have Brave, and we're gonna have The Incredibles, and all these other Coco, freaking Coco. It's great. I'm hoping Rotation 2 is gonna be better, but that's wishful thinking for future sets, which ironically is a fantastic question. And now move in. Remind me if I'm wrong. You started with Lorcana with first chapter?
Yeah, we missed like the first 6 weeks of first chapter. I had called, I think this was before we got a street day, but I was calling my LGSs and I was like, hey, are you guys going to have Lorcana? And they were like, well, I don't think at that point many of them had heard of it. So I just forgot. And then when street date dropped, I was at work and my wife was like, did you ever pre-order that stuff? And I was like, oh no, I forgot. And she forgot. Like, we just got busy with life. Yeah, it took us 6 weeks of just running into, like barely missing vendor, like the restocked guys at like our local store, like our local big box stores, because at the time LGSs weren't getting anything. And like I remember my wife, she would come home from like nursing school on Saturday, and she'd be like, "Hey, we have to go to Target. There was a restock," and we'd get there and it was all gone. So I mean, we missed like the first 6 weeks, unfortunately, but we like the first big restock we hit. I just remember leaving behind a bunch of single player decks, and I got some flack for it on some other like Discord servers at the time, because they were like, well, you're no better than the scalpers. I'm like, but I am because we're collecting and playing. I mean, I left decks behind. I took troves and the original gift sets and so yeah, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, we have been playing, or I've been playing since set 1, just due to like my wife being in nursing school at the time, and now she's a full-time nurse. Her availability is like very limited, so on occasion we'll like play each other, and but she doesn't play a whole lot. I think she just kind of got over the initial hype of the game, but I still love the game, despite all my, I guess, annoyances with like Ravensburger and the game as a whole.
That's all good. With that in mind, do you have what you would see as your favorite set, or your favorite, I guess, time of playing the game, kind of coinciding with the deck built maybe, but I mean, it could even be that post-rotation Winter Spells saved everything and we're great. What are your thoughts there?
I don't think I have like a particular favorite set. I think I more have favorite. I guess like if I had to pick a favorite set, it would have been Floodborne, because that's when we got Fasa.
Yeah.
But I don't really have like a favorite set. I have favorite cards out of sets. And I guess like my favorite meta game though would have been like post ban into like that open format. But yeah, no, I don't necessarily have like that. And I don't think I had it really in Yu-Gi-Oh either. In terms of like, oh, this is like my absolute favorite set. Yeah, so I wouldn't consider myself much of a set guy, although I hate Fabled. I understand like it was good for new players to like as a jumping point, but I much would have rathered it be like a side, like Ravensburger do like their first side set, especially with it being as much of a reprint set as it was, instead of just a main core set, because it just, and I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of like Fabled, so like I don't have a favorite set, but Fabled is my least favorite set.
Okay, no, that's absolutely fair. I think a lot of people probably share the same, be it that first post-rotation set, tons of reprints, and even then the reprints are like kind of questionable, and then the new stuff that's in there, yeah, we love the Goofy movie stuff. Absolutely, I love Goofy movies as much as anyone else. And then I'm like, oh, Powerline never sees play anywhere, Max never sees plays anywhere. It's kind of a shame, of course. Even though I still rate Powerline and Max, I find them quite nice. It's just not like, it's bad when looking back at it, at least in my opinion. Fabled was just not great, and then it wasn't until Whispers in the Well when I started looking at the cards that came out, and I'm like, okay, we're back. I think we're back, boys. And then Winterspell comes out, and don't get me wrong, they've obviously designed Winterspell with limited formats in mind, and they were very open about that with its design philosophies. But I still love Winterspell. I think Winterspell, yes, that is power creep. It's a thing. I get it, but I'm used to that with the Yu-Gi-Oh stuff as well, where power creep's a thing. You kind of have to keep up with power creep, or you're just going to be stuck at like 2,000 attack characters all the time, where everyone's like, I attack for 8k. It's kind of a thing, but the characters that they brought in that are now really, really good, and even after the next rotation that could be coming when Attack of the Vine comes out, it gives me a lot of hope, because I know I've had people at my locals look at me and just go, Dom, you're crazy for thinking of next rotation this early. We haven't even got Wilds Unknown yet. Is Toy Story even that good? We don't know. But it's key to bear in mind, it's not going to be that long until we get the next rotation in. And it's good to think about it now, because if you need to invest in cards that have been out since Fabled onwards, get it now and kind of predict where things could go post-rotation, if you can, or just secure what you like, so that at least post-rotation, it's like, I could build the fun deck and just see how we go once Attack the Vine comes out. But we'll see. It's all up in the air, and that's half the fun. Because is Toy Story going to be good? It better be. People will riot if
Oh, yeah.
Buzz Lightyear sucks. That is me, and maybe two others.
I will. I mean, I'm again coming from Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, I get that like not every card can be good because, I mean, there's thousands of Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are completely terrible, but it is kind of a shame where like it feels like only like 4 or 5 cards out of a 204 card set are like relatively playable. And I understand part of that's on the community for not like deck building like on their own and just net decking, but I think it says I think it kind of just points out to the I guess the inexperience of Ravensburger, like the dev team sometimes. And you know, like nothing against them, like they have a hard job trying to design 204 cards per set.
Oh yeah.
Especially if they have to like run everything up like the Mickey Mouse corporate ladder, like it's been, you know, hinted at, especially to me. So like I understand that they're, you know, like it happens, but at the same time, it's just kind of like there's so much bulk every set, and it's kind of annoying. But no, I get you.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, the hope is that when Attack of the Vine comes out and everything gets shifted, meta shakes up enough to the point where, hey, it's kind of a loose meta. Anything can go ham. I'd love to see it. And I think a big rotation without major like reprints will potentially blossom something like that. Don't get me wrong. 9 times out of 10, first major tournament is just bombarded with aggro, because what's the easiest thing to build when half of your stuff's gone? Anything request for 2 or more in a massive deck. But we'll see. It's at least something to look forward to and hope for. That's the most important thing. But back to things that we're more well versed with, especially for you. And the thing that I really loved about some of your videos that I've seen throughout TikTok in time, you've had a lot of opinions about Lorcana's presence within the theme parks. And I found the discussions, like we've had discussions as well, that have been just very back and forth, very nice in-depth ones, very nice ones have happened in the comment sections and around the place. And of course you've also seen it with the Festival of the Arts at Epcot, and been able to bump into some of the big wigs of Ravensburg as well to voice opinions and all that jazz. So first question I have on that for you specifically, because I know it's a thing that you feel about, what are your thoughts currently on Lorcana's presence within the theme parks? And do you think that it needs to do you feel it needs more representation? It's just not there yet? What are your thoughts there?
I definitely think I think it needs more representation. Absolutely. Like when I tell cast even like cast members, they'll ask me because my wife and I are also pin traders. So one of my I actually have it right here. Give me a second. I don't know if you can see it very well. I take this. This is my This is on my pin bag. This is also my this is a Christmas present for my wife. So, but I have like a bunch of Lorcana pins up here because again, not a lot of people know about it, but talking to cast members, and I don't ever get mad at cast members for not knowing about Lorcana because they have 1,000 things to remember. But you know, when they asked me about it, I go, yeah, Worlds was held on property. They were like, it was what? Like when? And I'm like, yeah, it was over the summer. Because the Lorcana pin catches their eyes. And I have to tell them about like the 1-of-1 world pin, and I definitely think that it being underrepresented in the park is an issue, but I have kind of come to understand, like I guess because like I think Miller said in an interview early on that they signed, I think it was a 10-set contract or like a 5-year contract. So I can understand Disney not wanting to go gung-ho like out the gate, especially after Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom and their eye seemingly failed. But you know, this isn't like with Universal getting Nintendo World and Pokemon being a huge part of that over in Japan, and then assumably being integrated over here in the West. Like Disney, like Lorcana, in my opinion, can rival Pokemon, and they have to get on the ball with that because. And I love Disney World, I love the parks, but you know, Epic Universe apparently is like going to rival all of Disney World, and if Disney's not on their game, they're going to lose that market share. But it is frustrating to, like, not be able to told when, like, these things are going to happen. Especially, like, if you look at how big pin trading is and how big Lorcana could be in comparison, it's frustrating, but I understand, like, especially now, these things take time, but it's like, you are the mouse, you are the second largest IP in the world, like, you could throw all your force behind this and it would be gangbusters. So, but I don't work for Disney, I don't work for Ravensburger. I'm just a guy who in his free time likes to bombard people with Lorcana while I'm on property.
So, listen, do the thing.
Pretty much, yeah. My wife, one of our trips, she looked at me and she was like, you're coming off as like a religious fanatic, and I was like, well, to be fair, I was like, this is a fun game, and I was like, Disney's kind of a cult in of itself. I was like, I'm just preaching a subsect of a cult. Like it's like a cult within a cult.
As long as you don't start going down the main street or Main Street USA with a banner so saying like Lorcana for everyone, and it's like, join the cult, Lorcana.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so don't join the cult, but join the cult.
Yeah, exactly. Join our version of it, like join our side of the cult. It's very
cults.
fun.
Yeah. But we sacrifice cards in game, not actual crazy cult stuff. Yeah, we leave that for the crazy people.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, we don't drink Kool-Aid.
Now, the thing that I love about Lorcana is the fact that, of course, big Disney IP. It's the one mouse that can go against the big Japanese mouse we all know, and
yes,
I agree with you. I think it does have the potential to sit alongside rival Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, even like give it time, go the distance, go against Magic the Gathering with the similar systems that it has. It has so much potential. And I hear it from a bunch. Like, I talked to a bunch of guys when I went to DLC Ghent, that are based in Belgium, Germany, and all of that jazz, and they were all saying that Disneyland Paris, for example, just has nothing. And I know there's a lot of debate when you talk about the actual park, and people are like, oh, Disneyland Paris is like 20 years behind where Florida, Tokyo, and everyone else is. That's a whole different debate anyway. But the fact that you have a really, don't get me wrong, I agree with you entirely. Early on, when you're just giving birth to a new TCG, you don't know if it's going to hit the market and do really well. You could do well set one, and half of that could be through scalping. We just don't know, because money is money. And then by the time you get like set 5 or 8, it just starts dwindling, and you start losing more money than you're gaining. And then it's like, is it worth investing? Is it worth bringing into the parks? Worth running park exclusive events and all that jazz? But at least now, especially when they've revealed things like the exclusive promos you can get from events in Epcot, from the Disney cruises, and things along those lines, even if they just did limited events that are random pop-ups, where it's like, during the spread of these months, if you come to the parks and you participate in a collector's quest, or you get so many packs at one of the stores that's participating in it, you can get this promo, and you only get this promo during these months at the parks exclusively with a special park exclusive logo, which we now know exists. I'm happy with that. If that's the furthest extent that they're ever going to take it, outside of having the finals there or the LCQs like they're doing in September over there, I think that's fine. It's better than nothing at all. And I think that's a big thing. We just don't want nothing represented there. We want at least something. And especially since they make a really big emphasis of it at D20, which is the big what's new convention every single year. And every year they've always shown, like, hey, here's our next plans for Lorcana. Here's a D20 exclusive promo or series of promos for Lorcana. So you can tell the big wigs are behind it. they know that this has potential to keep going, and that's fantastic. So, who knows? Maybe the next D20 will reveal more. Maybe they'll come out saying, okay, outside of the CCQs, DLCs, LCQs, Worlds, maybe they'll just have like mini park tournaments where they're core constructed or Infinity, but they could just be for new players, and you're completely brand new to the game, and it's like, here's a starter deck, you buy in with the price of the starter deck, it's a mini 3-round tournament just so you get to learn how to play the game, it's all in good fun, and then if you top it, you get a couple of packs for the win, and you get a very fancy special promo because you won in that tournament, while everyone else who participates gets a non-foil version because it's like, hey, welcome to the game. Gets him into it, you know, as an idea.
Yeah, I either did a video about it or I meant to do a video about it, but I talked to a cast member opening day, and I was like, hey, do you know how many books you gave away? And they were like 6,000 books.
Wow.
And Festival of the Arts is the small, it's like the shortest window festival at Epcot. It's only 35 days. But, I mean, like, on the downside, if you're looking at that math, even if they gave away 5,000 over the course of that festival, that's 175,000 packs of Lorcana, Stitch or Donald and Rapunzel's that were given out. I did not love the fact that Stitch was locked behind I equate it to a $50 paywall. Because there were people that were just like, well, I'm not gonna buy, because for a lot of people who like may not be annual pass holders, like my wife and I, who get the discounted rate on the tickets essentially. Like I had friends from Georgia who drove down during the festival to get their promos, and it's like, that's gas, that's, food in and out of the park, and at that point, like $50, like the tickets I think are like $150 for the day. So, I mean, you're asking them to fork over basically $200 for a Stitch. Like, it just, I understand Disney's I understand they're a company, but like, there's no way that the Stitch should have been $50. But again, like, just presumably, even if half the people in attendance had heard of Lorcana, I mean, that's still, what's 175 divided by 2?
Quick, people in the comments, do the maths.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like, but that's still, yeah. But I mean, that's still people that had never heard of the game, and like I can't tell you how many people I ran into that were like, yeah, I've never heard of this before, and I'm like, well, I have because I play, but it was, I think it was an eye-opening experience for like. Not necessarily the Disney bigwigs, because I know they're trying to. I agree with you that they're trying to push the game, but I think there was kind of a thing of like, well, how much do we need? Do we want to go all in casino style? I think based on the turnout, because apparently like everything on the cruise ships is sold out. Everything at I was talking to Dan Regal, who was he's I think one of the co-founders of Citizens Lorcana. He was going a couple times a day because he's in. I think he went a couple of times because he's in California. But they sold out apparently ahead of schedule, and they only had the 2 promos. Yeah, so it's like I definitely think if the takeaway from the Disney bigwigs is, should we go all in on this? I absolutely think these events are getting them in that direction. And I would love to see something like that go to Paris. Would I kind of be, would I be envious if their promos were better than mine? Yeah, but I mean, I'm gonna be happy that like the community is getting love no matter where they're at in the world.
That's it, right? And I think the one thing I think we can all agree on in general is that everything that they've done over the past couple of years with cruise ship promos, everything they did at Epcot, and everything they're still doing now with like collection quests and DLCs and everything, it's all data. It's very important data that they need to consider what works, what doesn't work. And as far as what I've been privy to and what they've been very open about, be it at D20 Expo or just doing the Lorcana Day updates on their live streams, it sounds as if everything's just doing great. And if that means that at some point in the future there's going to be another collection quest like event in Florida, California Adventure, Disneyland Paris, Tokyo Disney Sea, Disney Hong Kong. Like, and the fact that the game is now available in the Asian markets as well as the European, American, like, there's so many things you can incorporate with all of this as well, including just like, because this was a point that I had when, I think it was when I went to my very first set championship tournament. I was talking to guys about it, and I said, wouldn't it be great if they just did a tiny little, like, even if it was a collection quest style thing, at just one of the Disney stores? Because in London, we still have our one and only Disney store, really. And it would be great. Like, you don't have to do it all the time. But when you do it, if you'd, like, set it up for, like, the stretch of this month, come down to the store, you get a pack or two, you get the store promo. And that store promo is just, again, exclusive little badge on it. Nice little trinket if you want to go nuts for it, and people will go nuts for it. Collectors, everyone else in between, especially, like, what was it? I had an idea the other day where I thought every park has their own unique Disney castle based on a princess. You can't tell me that, like, Tokyo Disney Sea can have an exclusive aerial card based on the fact that it's Tokyo Disney Sea. The Disneyland Paris would have, I believe it's Aurora's castle at Disneyland Paris. Cinderella, I think so. Or that's the one in. Well, you guys in the comments will know more than me. I'm getting there with my knowledge with the parks. I'm more for cards. I can't afford.
You're good. But no, I do remember. I don't remember what podcast it was right after the game got announced. They had mentioned, like, wouldn't it be cool if they were park promos? And I was like, yeah, like, I was like, yeah, that would. I was talking to myself while I was listening to the pod. I was like, yeah, that'd be fantastic. You know, like, imagine if there was a Cinderella ballroom sensation. If they, like, they put her in rotation, or even like just any Cinderella card, but, you know, she's in front of the castle, or she's inside the castle. Like, that would bonkers. Like,
absolutely.
I would shudder to think how much that card would cost, even if they put out, you know, the 175,000 that they did for the you know, the Epcot promos.
Like, it's
that's something that I would love.
Absolutely. Like, it's an idea that me and a bunch of the guys in my locals as well have been pitching this idea of, what if they took the Disney rides and adapted them into location cards, and then you can have Disney park exclusive promos of those location cards that you can only get from there, such as, you can't tell me Enchanted Castle as a location, but the castle is the literal castle from the park in artwork form. Wouldn't be gorgeous? And potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on its rarity. But it's like, we have a higher chance of that happening than another crazy idea someone said was like, they should do a Walt Disney card. They won't. I'd love it as, like, if it was a very special, maybe one of one enchanted card given to the Walt Disney family or to a museum or something along those lines. That would be beautiful. And it's like the classic statue of Walt holding Mickey's hand pointing, but it's in card form and it's encapsulated in a place where everyone can see it. Maybe does a tour between all the different parks so as many different people can just see it. Maybe make it so that the crazy version of it that's really sought after is under heavy guard in the parks, but then if you see it, you get a non-foil version that you can take home as a, I've seen the promo, here's your copy of it. Beautiful idea. Again, like, there's so many different things that you can do with Lorcana. It's great, and its potential is potentially boundless, especially with how they design everything, and here, there, and everywhere. It's great. Right. Moving on with some more quirky questions I have, and I've had to wipe these down in a notepad or else I bloody forget because I know what my head's like. So, we've kind of dabbled into it already with some of the questions involving like the metagame, where things are going potentially with post-rotation and things like that. Do you feel like this is a tough one? Because yes, we play. Yes, we go to our locals tournaments whenever we can, etc. Hell, I just went to my first DLC this year. But from your perspective, from where you are as a player, with second rotation on the way with Attack of the Vine after Wilds Unknown, do you think that rotation is going to do good for the game, bearing in mind that you can't get any worse from how Fabled hit it? Or do you think that it's hard to predict because we just don't know the impact Wilds Unknown is going to have first prior to Attack of the Vine?
I think it's kind of I think it's a two-parter. I think I think it might be a little too early to tell, based off, like, because the initial reaction I think a lot of people have is, well, it can't get any worse than what we already experienced, which, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with. I think it could always be worse, right? Whether that is, I think when it comes to potential rotation, I am very optimistic. I think Ravensburger they have a good track record of learning from their mistakes, but I find myself in the camp most of the time of, well, you have, 20, 30, 40 years of other TCGs making similar mistakes. Just don't do what you, like, basically copy their homework, in terms of, like, do what worked for them, don't do what works for, like, do what works for them, don't do what works for them. I mean, I think as long as the next rotation isn't something, like, out of left field, like a Fabled, because depending on, like, if the rumors are true, Fabled wasn't supposed to happen initially. They kind of, like, threw that together, I think, within the last year or so. So I think, again, like, I'm optimistic. That's just who I am by nature. So, like, things could always be worse, but, I'm hoping things will be better. So I'm not gonna give an answer if that's okay.
No, that's fine.
I do think, though, for the competitive longevity of the game, and if this is a segue, feel free, but I think we need a in-between tournament between DLCs and set champs. Like, I think you absolutely have to have that. Yeah, you have to have that for the growth of the game. Now, whether it's, again, coming from Yu-Gi-Oh, where our regional events get you skip the DLC and you just get, if you make a certain amount of top, if you make a certain placement in top cut, you get that invite. Or if it's, I think Spessy mentioned it on one of his videos, was if you top, like, that regional level event, you automatically get a DLC ticket. Like, you have to have something there, and I think that's where the game is very stagnant, especially with the metagame, because right now we're only seeing these third-party events, which, not knocking them, but, a lot of it's still the same cookie-cutter stuff with one or two more cards. So I think hopefully rotation will clean that up, but at the same time, Ravensburger has to step up their tournament games. And CCQs are a step in the right direction, but I think there's a lot, like, they have to step that up. Otherwise, we're going to keep losing players to games like Riftbound or back to Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever.
And I completely agree with that. That's my take. Absolutely. It's a very good segue, because that was actually on my list as well. And it's a very good thing to bring up, because it's been a hot topic, I think, after Worlds, like the first Worlds went down. And a lot of people were like, okay, we want to participate at these events. We want to participate at a level where, like, the best of the best will compete. And you never know. I would like the chance to potentially go to Worlds, or bypass the need to go to the DLC to then get the invite, Like, more opportunity and more tournament is good in the grand scheme of it all. And I looked at, like, I think I explained it as best as I could to a bunch of peeps that were very miffed with how it felt, because I chatted to a couple of guys about it, and they were angry with the idea that they felt that CCQs were just a band-aid to the big problem. And I've said to them, of course they are, because you've got to bear in mind, they've probably had all of these big DLC events all booked up all the way back when the very first DLC events started. So these were pre-booked, pre-planned, pre-arranged in their go-to venues way ahead of time. And they probably thought, oh, well, we're only going to have a few, like, we're going to have a decent, like, fan base, but maybe not huge enough to go to, like, that level. But obviously, you under-predict, and you, like, the bubbles burst. Like, it's achieving way more than we ever expect, which is a good thing. But now the problem is, oh no, we have like 5 or 6 events booked for the next year before the next Worlds, and it's like, how do we manage? So my logic for people has been, for the second iteration of Worlds, you're probably not going to see a lot of advancement because they're going to be limited to what they can do. CCQs are good, and especially with what they're doing with the LCQs and having them hosted at the parks as well. Again, very good step forward. We like this. I can only hope, and my hope's very high for this, and I'm fully expecting this because they would probably be arranging events and venues for the third Worlds tournament, like, already. That's probably already done, but they would have probably waited for the feedback based on the tournament leading up to Worlds 1 before booking that ahead of time. So with that in mind, once we get into Rotation 2, and we start with Attack of the Vine, and we have Fabled all the way up, by the time we get to the next Worlds, I'm expecting, again, under-predicting, and I'm probably going to say, for a safety bet, we're not going to get the crazy amount of events that I know, like Specky has asked for, that a lot of other big competitive guys have asked for, because I still think they're under-predicting it. They're going to give us more, and I think more CCQs, more DLCs in more regions. Like, having it in Ghent was good, but a lot of people were miffed that there wasn't one in France, wasn't one in London, and yes, there's one in Dortmund coming up when we're recording this video, and that's fantastic. But again, Dortmund's only Infinity as well, and which is good, and I want to commend them for this, and I want this noted in the video here. I don't hate Infinity. I love Infinity as much as I love Core Constructed, especially because Infinity's the format where anything goes, everything's legal, it's pure chaos. That in itself is so much fun to watch. To be able to check that out at DLC Dortmund's going to be brilliant. And the fact that Infinity's being given the opportunity to have its own platform at Worlds in the future as well, fantastic. I'm really happy for this. But again, it's great that they've set up infrastructure for Infinity because they knew it was going to come. But we're not going to get the infrastructure fully for Core Constructed, Infinity, maybe even other quirky side-orientated tournaments if there are going to be, like, not going to lie, in my personal opinion, at Worlds, I'd love to see 3 World Champions made. I'd love to see a Core Constructed Worlds Champion, an Infinity Worlds Champion, and potentially a Pack Rush Worlds Champion. Because Pack Rush at Worlds would be incredible, and the fact that you could potentially be invited to Worlds just by winning a Pack Rush tournament at a DLC would be huge. And the fun part about Pack Rush is that everything's out of your control. You have a very tiny deck, everything is just decided by whatever your pack has, and at a world tournament where things are being live streamed as well, being in that opportunity where you see someone draw their first hand and the first thing they play out is a potential iconic card that they pull for a Pack Rush game, incredible fun. And so you have the fun champion, the champion that gets every set, and that's Infinity. And then the Core Constructed champion, which is the guy that has learned from rotation, understood what meta's done, and has developed over that time, and has been able to make the strongest decks that are still dominant now as they would have been back then. And it's a matter of expansion. And it's limited. I don't think we're going to see it until after Attack of the Vine, be it the 3rd Worlds tournament, maybe 4th, if hopefully we get to the 4th. But I'm positive for it. again, it's unlocked potential, and they can only do better because they've done their worst now. Like, same with Fabled, they've done the mistakes now, and like what you said, and I completely agree. Ravensburger, if anything, learned from their mistakes very quick, and heck, with the criticism that they got, they could have just come out saying, "Sorry guys, everything's pre-planned. We can't do any other events." They came out saying we have CCQs. Yeah. They did it. So even within the limitations that they had, they were able to make more happen. So now that they have time to develop that moving forward, Worlds Tournament 3 is going to be insane. Especially now that the game's being played in Japan, in Brazil, in Hong Kong. And the world is legitimately getting involved now, which is going to be super fun. So I don't know if you have anything else to really add to that, but it can only get better.
Granted, like, I loved the fact that like Worlds was in Orlando. I was hesitated. I was like the morning after, like that Monday after, I was off from work, and I was like, I kind of looked at my wife the night before, and I was like, I think I'm going to go to Disney tomorrow. She's like, why? I was like, because Worlds was like, yes. I was like, Worlds just wrapped up. I was like, people that I know that she doesn't know. Like, I was like, Rebecca Quest is there, Baker, B Squad. I was like, the whole, like, everybody is there. But I would love to see, because like I think Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh do it where they jump from continent to continent. I would actually love to see kind of rotate around the globe.
Yeah.
So like one year they started in Disney World. At one point, I think it would be cool to have Worlds in Disneyland Paris, and then Hong Kong or Shanghai, or Tokyo Sea or Tokyo Disneyland, and then just kind of rotate each continent, or each, I guess, each area. We'll say area, because I know Europe there's debate on what's a continent, what's not, but yeah. I would love to see it kind of bounce from region to region based on the park. Yeah, like that kind of, people from like South America will never get to, they don't get that piece of the pie, but it's still, because if I'm not mistaken, weren't the people who qualified from, and if you don't have this information, that's fine, but I was under the impression that the people who qualified for Worlds from like over in like Europe got like an all expense paid trip, at least in terms of flight and stuff.
I want to say it's either fully subsidized or part subsidized. But because because you have a Worlds invite anyway, I would expect something to go towards your travel, because that's just crazy, right?
Yeah.
You can't be expected to win an invite at like DLC in Brazil and then suddenly go, well, but I'll never be able to go to Disneyland because I can't afford it. Because that sucks. That really sucks for them, Yeah.
And that's one thing I would like to see in the future, just in terms of like, just that migration around the world. It's like it, not even necessarily me, but it's like, what if, this is somebody in Brazil's only chance to go to Tokyo, right? Like, how cool would that be? Oh. To kind of, and again, that just like helps incentivize people to go to, and like, I think it was the Worlds team spent like 3 or 4 days in Disney World, so it's like, that's a boost to that local economy as well. So it's there's dual purposes to it, obviously, but that's just one thing that I was like, I've been wanting to see since they announced the World Championships was, all right, well, bounce it, like, or even have nationals in Disney World one year as opposed to keep going to Disneyland. It's just it's something that I think would help the game grow, but two, would be really cool for the players who made it there. So yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. Especially with more of the world now starting to get into Lorcana, having the chance to play, having the chance to get the chance to go to big worlds. Like you said, the one thing that I keep coming back to is that one of Walt Disney's favorite moments was in Pinocchio with the song that Geppetto sings when he wishes upon a star. And one of the famous lines of that song is, "Let your dreams come true." What is some of these biggest dreams is going to Japan in general, or going to these parts of the world that you've never been to before, and you have basically get a ticket to be able to go to that part of the world as a part of this insane tournament. That in itself is a huge prize for so many people, even if they never get any higher than getting that world's invite. That invite by itself is a dream that'll make so many people's lives even truly magical. And go all in on magic. Oh man, it'll be awesome. And again, it can only do better. I've said that multiple times, but I genuinely think Ravensburger has the potential. I believe in them. I believe in the game. See how it goes. It can only get bigger and better from here. Cross fingers, touch wood. Moving on with other quirky questions we've got, because the debates have been really good. We like a good hearty discussion. Oh, I can't wait to see the comment section of people loving it or hating it. We'll soon find out. So a couple of quirky things to kind of wind things back, wind things down, or get onto the way of it. First thing I've got here is, in your opinion, what would you say are the best parts of Lorcana and the worst parts of Lorcana as it is right now?
So I want to. I mean, this kind of just sounds cliche, but I think probably one of the best parts is just the community. I've heard the stories from the like female players, or other gender minorities in the TCG space. How welcoming the community is, how open the community is. And so I think one of the best things is the community. My local scene has one lady, and she's like the husband, or she's the wife. Sorry, she's the wife of one of our players, but we treat her as an equal. And I've heard the same thing from other servers and other parts of the Lorcana community. I think Rebecca Quest just hit 10K followers on I think it was on all her platforms. It was just one, but it was huge.
Quest for that.
But
That's such a big achievement for her.
Yeah, but I've never seen an angry or ignorant comment in her comment section, whether she sorry, my dog just decided to harass me. I don't know if you can see her paws in the background. Whether that is she filters, or she just doesn't have to. So the community is one thing that I love about the game. Just the property, everything that surrounds that is another great thing about the game. And that's pretty much, I think, the two big things that people think when they hear Lorcana is the community, and then the intellectual property, of course.
Absolutely. Dabbed across TCGs throughout the years as well myself, with Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, Digimon TCG, Flesh and Blood, Lorcana included in it all. The fact that the Lorcana community has just been so lovely, so welcoming, so inclusive of everybody. I mean, in my locals, we have a handful of women and different age groups as well. There were kids who play with us, and it's great. We're just all playing along with each other.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. I love it to pieces, and I still get emotional to it today. The fact that I'm just a guy that makes his content online about this card game that we all love. I go to DLC again. Sure, I do a couple of promo videos here or there saying, I'm going again, see me, and all that jazz. The amount of people that recognized me, wished me luck, so many of them just said, please don't ever give up, we want you to be a caster in the future, was so lovely of them. I've never had that level of connection with a community before in my life, and it just makes you want to be deeper in there. It makes you want to get more people in and go, look at us, We want you to try our game, and we want you in here. It's a thing of beauty. It generally is a thing of beauty when it comes to it. Now, going into Lorcana itself, bearing in mind that we've been doing this since the first chapter, we've seen how things have gone after rotation, played it on competitive levels and all that jazz. What advice would you give to somebody that has either never heard of Lorcana or never played of Lorcana before, if they've ever shown interest of how do I get started?
I guess until recently, or I guess we'll find out when the new single player decks come out. My advice was always avoid those. They're not very good. And so, but my advice has always been very similarly to like what took me a very long time to learn in Yu-Gi-Oh, which was, find a deck you like. Don't waste any money on really anything until you know, because that's the worst feeling in the world, is to drop $150, $200 on a deck and then go, I hate this deck. Why did I spend money on it? My advice would be get involved in your local community. Try to find, try to watch YouTube content of decks that are like gameplay footage. That way you can see what kind of deck you like, what kind of play style you like, that sort of thing. Because this is a luxury hobby, right? People do not have the disposable income all the time to be dropping money on, a max rarity deck or whatever. So I think doing the research into your, what you want to play, your local scene, because there are some people who just want to play for fun, and that's okay. And I think a lot of people get bogged down by, if you go into a like a card shop or an LGS or whatever, that is my Wednesday night locals is very competitive. We play meta decks, meta 1.5, but there's a shop across town that is a lot more casually focused. To the point where I would, tell somebody hey, we loved having you, but if you don't enjoy playing against these decks, go across town. That's to try to be as try to be less douchey about it, right? Because I don't want to be that guy that scares them off entirely. But I've been in that situation where I am not playing a good deck and I leave feeling dejected and then I hate the game or I'm bad at the game. So that's kind of more my thought process is do your research, find the shop that best suits you or find the community that best suits you. And, however you play the game, enjoy it. As long as you're not cheating or being a terrible person, at the end of the day, how you play is how you play.
That's it. I completely agree. Absolutely, from top to bottom on that one. The only thing I've got to say is for single player decks, yeah. But there's hope. In Japan,
yeah,
they're doing the ones with legendaries in them, and that's only a good thing. Again, it's data. Hopefully they sell well and they perform okay, because that is a good step forward. Please bring something like that to the West. Cross fingers. Anyway, the interesting question that I have, and I think this is one that I'm going to be pitching to every guest that I have in this show, because I think everyone's going to have their own unique answer to this. Or at least I'm hoping so. What 3 things would you say to someone who wants to make content about Lorcana but doesn't know where to start?
Ooh, those are good ones. Number one, work with what you got. A lot of my videos are, actually all my videos are on my phone. And then I normally film while I'm walking my dog. That's why I'm normally outside for most of them. So number one, work with what you got. Number 2, you got to be comfortable. One of the reasons I don't post a whole lot is I don't write anything down. So what I'm saying or what I'm talking about normally is, off the top of my head. So there'll be instances where as I'm walking my dog, I'll shoot a segment 3 or 4 times trying to get the words right, and it prevents me from putting out content. So just got to get comfortable. If you make mistakes, that's okay. And then number 3, find your niche. You do the deck profiles, and that's kind of that's your niche over on TikTok. Enchanted Kate is I think she's one of the most popular pack rippers on TikTok, in the Lorcana space anyway. And that's her niche, right? Like there are people who they just open packs and that's them. I'm probably I've done a little bit of everything. So I guess like consistency would probably be the next thing, both in posting and with what your topics about, right? Because like I feel like if you jump around a lot, you're gonna like lose an audience one video, or you're gonna gain an audience the next video, and if they're not there for that content, they might just not come back for whatever reason. So those would probably be like my big three things, my big three takeaways.
That's all cool. Very, very good. And last but not least, where can people find your stuff?
Yeah, so I'm on TikTok as Lorcana Carp. I have a YouTube under the same name. I don't post on it. I probably should. And then I have an Instagram under the same thing. Like I'm Lorcana Carp on most everything. I think on Discord I'm Martin Carp, just because I haven't changed the name back. What was a ill-timed jab at Pokemon. But that's where you can find me. I am in I think I'm in every Lorcana Discord. So if you happen to be in the same Discord as me and you want to shoot me a DM, feel free to. My DMs are always open. It might take me a while to reply just because of work and life and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm here. I'm here for the community. And if that is somebody wants to DM me about a bad time they had at locals, or they want advice or anything, that's what I'm here for.
Dope.
Sorry, my dog's literally like eating my hands under the table.
That's perfectly fine. We've had dog in the video. That means this video will get 1 million views. That's how it works, right? You bring
Hopefully.
We shall see. But thank you very much for coming on. Very first episode of This Is Your Deck.
Yeah, of course.
Where hopefully we'll get some more guests in the future. So for the second installment of This Is Your Deck, I'm going to be joined by someone who, again, is across the pond, but not across the pond in the US, across the pond in Australia, because I'm going to have on board Into the Inkwell AU. She's going to be joining me on here. And I found out recently that apparently I was the one that inspired her to start making content in the first place. So I was like one of the first creators she ever saw in the space. And
that's super awesome.
I'm looking forward to chat with her because like we have very similar vibes, and apparently she wants to go to a European DLC, I want to go to an Australian DLC, so the paths will collide, and we kind of have this thing going on in the DMs where we might end up becoming the ultimate casting duo.
I mean, you guys would be tough to beat. Who was it? Jess and Kim, but
Jess and Kim were great. Jen from DLC Ghent with Kim, hilarious. I love them both. Shout out to Jen, by the way, and Kim. I know both of them.
Yeah, sorry, Jen, not Jess.
After going to things, fantastic job they did in Ghent. But we're gonna rival you in the future. I'm gonna bring my fisticuffs. No, I'm joking. But yes. For the next installment, where I'm going to be joined by Into the Inkwell AU, this is where you guys who have been watching the show can get involved. If you have any questions that you want to ask either me or Into the Inkwell AU when she comes on board, you can do that down in the comment section. I swear you can even post your questions for Lorcana Cup down in the comment section as well, and I can let him know. He can jump into the comment section if he wants to also answer your questions further down the line. And if you want to keep in touch with who's going to be a part of the show in the future, if you want to send in DMs or anything involving what's going to happen next on the show, or if you want to suggest who I reach out to be a part of the show in the future, just come on board, leave your comments, send me your DMs, join the Discord server and all the other server places where I am out there in the bloody social web that is the internet. It's all over the place. And whilst you're at it, one last major thing, you better do this or else I'm going to be very upset. Hit the subscribe button. Because if you don't, I'm going to be very upset. And if I'm very upset, then nothing gets made. And we're going to be sitting here for a good month when nothing happens. And it's all because of you. I'm not going to be that guy. Like, it's all on you. But no, if you have enjoyed, if you've never
right.
checked out any of the stuff and you want to join the Azurite crew, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more fun times. Thank you again to Lorcana Card, my guest here today. All of his social links will be down in the description below, so be sure to check out his stuff. Get your follows in. Let him know you were sent by the captain, because it's very important that we support our fellow community peeps up and down and all across the world. That's what's important. And we'll be seeing you next time for even more action here on X Marks the Law. And until then, set sail, weigh anchor. And we'll be seeing you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.